What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is going to be your review of Mafia Families or Families of the Mafia, Season 1, Episode 4. So we start, I guess this episode was all about relationships. So we started this episode with Corinna and her boyfriend, Paulie. Now, I know I keep referencing that other show, but you guys, there was a lot in that other show that set a groundwork for this. So in that other show, we saw Corinne and Paulie. It is toxic and abusive, and I was shocked. I said it in my review then. I'm gonna say it again. I am shocked that Karen has allowed it to go on. And I know that Corinne is grown. I know that it's not like she's 15, 16, but they've been dating since she was in high school. And I don't understand why Karen allowed it to continue this far for this long. This young man is abusive. He is mentally abusive. I don't know if he's physically abusive, but I wouldn't be shocked to find out if he had been. But he's definitely mentally abusive. On the last show, he got mad at her and he posted stuff all on, social media, calling her all out her name and stuff. He put a brick through her windshield. Like, that is abusive business. And, she's like, well, when we get along, everything is great. But when we fight, it's bad. That is the cycle of abuse. It's that honeymoon phase. Everything is cool. Everything is good. Then we fight. It gets nasty. It gets toxic, whatever. And then he apologizes. We make up and we start that cycle all over again. I am shocked that this has continued. Anyway, we're going to keep going. So we see them. And of course, at the beginning of the episode, they're great. Everything, they're lovey-dovey. They're out on a date and they're all, yeah. Then we see Denny and her podcast, and they're talking about relationships, and Denny is saying, look, I have done it all. I have dated drug dealers. I've dated people in jail. I've dated people with degrees, and it's all ended up the same. It's all been some bullshit, and it's just really hard. And so Karen was saying, hey, look, I've done it too. I've dated all of the above as well. Been there, done that. And, she was saying how, she said growing up, people knew who she was, obviously. They knew who her dad and stuff was. So she said it was a little intimidating as far as who would approach her and things like that. She said, but we're just dealing with a different type of guy in today's world as far as dating. And I agree. I agree with that. But in my mind, I'm like, but you're letting your daughter be a child. Okay. So then we see... we see Chris. Let me tell you, I like Chris. I have a little soft spot for Chris. I want to see Chris win. I want to see Chris do all the things that he wants to do. We see him trying to figure it out. He knows he wants to stay out of trouble. Stop hanging around the people he was hanging around and going to places he was going. He's meeting with his parole officer, and they're trying to figure out a plan. He says, well, I want to be successful. She was like, you got to be more specific. Everybody wants to be successful. What's the plan? How you going to get there? How you going to be successful? Like break that down for me. And so he says, you know what? I want to cut hair. He said, people in my neighborhood, the hair is a big deal. I know people will come. If I'm good, I know I can make a living at it. I can, because his whole thing is to save up money so that he's good when his dad comes home, so that they're good together. And his parole officer was like, you know what? I think that's a great idea. And he said, my only hesitation, and I know it's going to sound crazy when I say this, is, it's going to be work. Not Paulie. Forget about Paulie. Chris is used to being able to be a lazy bum. Like, that's what he's been doing. Obviously, the expectation, the bar was set low. And so he's trying to figure it out and raise the bar himself. His aunt and uncle are making him raise the bar. You know what I mean? And so I like Chris. I want to see Chris win. Later on in the episode, we see him actually go and visit a friend of his who's a barber. And he agrees to take him on as an apprentice. He says, look, I found barbering as a way to get me off the streets. He was like, it can work for you, but you gotta be serious about it. It can't be a part-time thing for you. You gotta be serious. And so, he was like, I am. So the guy was like, come around here next Tuesday. And he was like, if you show up, I know you're serious. If you don't, then I know what it is. So hopefully Chris will follow through with that. Then we go down to the courthouse. Joe has his court date. Now let me say this about Joe and his court date, okay? I get it. The only thing I can think of is that Joe has other situations, and that's why he was so worried about going to jail, because they made this a big deal, like he was being charged with like attempted murder or something. He got a citation for criminal mischief. Like, It's not that serious. But I understand that maybe because the courtroom knows him because he's got so many other arrests that maybe that's what he was worried about, them making a an example or whatever. But he ends up not having any jail time, and of course this is my wake up call. I'm never gonna do this again. I'm not gonna blah 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 blah. I don't believe that bullshit. He's as soon as he gets enough drink in him and he gets mad, he's gonna be right back where he started. I don't believe it because I think this young man has a anger management issue, and I think it is fueled by alcohol. His dad says you might need to take a year off and just focus on boxing because he wants to go into boxing, and he was like, yeah, but I have to work. Like, I've created bills and I have to I have to pay my bills. And I'm like, that's very mature of him, but I kind of understand where his dad is coming from. Like, look, you need to focus on something because you're just out here. But anyway, I don't dislike Joe, but I want Joe to get it together too. I think if he could take that anger and focus on boxing, maybe he could, yeah. So now we got Big Joe. And here's the thing with Big Joe. Oh, Billy. His Billy. I'm calling him Big Joe. Billy's problem is he screwed up while his kids were young. He was not the dad that he should have been. He was in and out of their life. And now he wants to try to be dad. Here's the problem. You are the father of 20-somethings. You are not the father of teens. And so he has this conversation with Taylor where he wants to meet her boyfriend, and I got some stuff I want to say to him, and I need to talk to him a little bit. And I think the elephant in the room and what they're not speaking on is that Taylor's boyfriend is black. And I'm not calling nobody a racist. I'm not saying nobody, so please don't put that in my mouth. But what I am saying is I do think that there's an elephant in the room. I think there's an issue of why her father really doesn't like this guy because he don't know him. But they ended up going to dinner, and he came off real forceful. He was like, I know some things about him, and I've heard some stuff in the street. I got my ears in the street, and I got these things going. And I'm just like, but you don't know this dude. Like, you don't know this guy. But he came off really, really, really disrespectful. He did. He came off real nasty, real disrespectful. And then Taylor, to the point where Taylor ended up getting up and walking out the restaurant. She was like, look, because she had this whole conversation with her boyfriend about be nice to my dad. He's still my father. I understand, but you got to show him respect, blah, blah, blah. And then who comes walking through being disrespectful? Her dad. And he was really nasty, and he was really disrespectful towards Alex. And, to the point, like I said, where Taylor ended up getting up and walking out. And Taylor was like, look, this is unacceptable. So, they get into it, and, at the end of the day, what I think Dad isn't understanding is Taylor doesn't need that overprotective, you taking my daughter out on a date, you better have her home by curfew type situation. She has a full-grown relationship, and she's living with this guy. He was like, what are you, 22, 23? He was like, I'm 30. And the look on her dad's face when that man said he was 30 was like... But at the end of the day, you don't get a say. Like, you've missed that boat. You missed that window of I get to weigh in on who my child dates. You don't get to. You missed it, boo. You lost. You lost out. You missed it. So anyway, so Corinne, let's get back over here to Corinne. Corinne has a fashion show. She does modeling, and she's trying to, get into modeling and stuff like that. She's done some modeling, and she's built up her social media and stuff like that. She's getting ready for the fashion show. Her and Polly get into an argument. And why is Polly upset with her? Because Polly is jealous. Polly is insecure about her being in a fashion show. And he starts calling her all kinds of names and tell her she's, looking for attention. And she's, being a thought or whatever. He didn't say that. I'm just putting words, I'm just trying to, but basically he's telling her, you are, you looking for attention, and I don't appreciate it. Because what it boils down to is he doesn't want her to participate in the fashion show, and his male ego can't accept that his girlfriend is going to be walking in this fashion show, and people are going to be looking at her and oogling her or whatever. Again, he's insecure, it's toxic, he's abusive. And that is the cycle. And I'm going to keep saying that. So then we see Karen meet up with him, and Karen basically is telling him, look, I love, he's just like, I love Polly like one of my own. I've seen him grow up, but I really have a problem with him and Corinne's relationship. I don't like it. And so she talks to him and tells him, You know, I don't appreciate it. The disrespect has to stop. The way you talk to my daughter, it's not cool. It's not acceptable. You need to stop. Here's the thing. I appreciate that conversation, Karen, but I feel like it's 2 years too late. I feel like the first time your daughter was disrespected by this boy, and I get it, the whole Romeo and Juliet syndrome. I get that you don't want to push too hard because you're going to push them into the arms of the person you don't want to. I get all of that. I do. But I don't know. That relationship scares me, y'all. It really, really scares me, the two of them. Then we see Denny. Denny is making a decision about whether she wants to get in touch with her dad or not. She said she hasn't seen her dad since he was 12. She calls him her sperm donor. Hadn't seen him since she was 12. And she's like, you know, at this point, you know, on one hand, I kind of want to, you know, talk to him. But on the other hand, I'm like, screw you. Like, I'm here. I did it without you. Screw you. So she's kind of teetering. And her mom is like, look, I'll support whatever decision you make. She said, but at this point, I don't even know how to find him. So, like, the only connection they have to even find her dad is through an aunt, her dad's sister, who they've kind of kept in touch with over the years. And so she's debating about whether she's going to reach out to her. But I think she decided that that's what she's going to end up doing. So, last but not least, we see Paulie. He shows up to talk to Corinne. They talk. Again, it's that cycle. They talk, he sort of apologizes, whatever, but it's still like that uneasy, that weird space. And they're basically, for the first time, starting to have the conversation of, I don't know if we need to be with each other. Like, I don't know if this is what, like, I don't know if we need to be here. But they have this, again, it's the cycle. I've seen them have that conversation before. So it's the cycle of it. So at the end of that conversation, they decide they're not going to be together, right? They're going to break up. They're not going to be together. So next thing we see is them hanging out. Corinne is with Denny and her clique. And then we see Paulie with his boys and Christian. And they're all there hanging out together. And that's part of the problem with them all being on this island and they all being in the same clique. Like, they constantly see each other. So Christian is hanging out with the girls and dancing and stuff. And Paulie is getting pissed. And he's like, look at this clown. Look at him. Look at what he's doing. Look at what he's doing. Now, mind you, I don't even see him touching Corinna. I don't even see him touching her. But yet, his only focus is that Christian is over there dancing with the girls and now he's a clown. And so he, you know, Christian tried to talk to him, and because Christian's having a good time. And he's like, well, what's up? And Paulie's like, no, don't talk to me. You're a clown. You're a clown. And he was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, Corinna? He was like, yo, she's like my dog. Like, I know her. Like, there's nothing going on between us. Like, there's nothing there. Whatever, man, whatever. So then he goes over to Corinna, and they get to arguing again. And Corinna, part of this is on Corinna, because now she's going back to the text messages. Why would you text me that? Why would you say that? Corinna, fuck him. Don't worry about why he's texting you. Don't worry about, because again, he does the same stuff over and over. And see, part of the problem is, you've accepted the bad behavior. He knows that you're going to pop him on the hand a little bit, probably make him, you know, break up with him for a week or two, and then he's going to get back together. And so he knows that he can continue to act this way because you're going to continue to forgive him. And that's why the cycle continues. And I agree with Denny 100%. She said, Corinna should have been done with him, and some dogs are not worth the training. And I'm with you, girl. Boom. With that, I'm out.